Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning. This is Stephen McCarthy coming to you from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I am the director of the McCarthy Project. And we have been working with coaches and teams and young athletes since 2001. And one of my biggest goals was to bring information to young people to really talk to them about the opportunities of sport and what it brings to them in life. And so today we're going to be talking about the future of beach volleyball. And I am really excited about this subject because we are literally, I feel, there's been a lot of programs, a lot of people. It's funny because I was just reading a book wrote by Karch Karai, and he was talking about back in the 60s, playing, beach volleyball or sand volleyball, I guess at that time. And it really does bring back a lot of really cool memories for me as a I'm 47 years old, back into the 80s, in the 90s. So it is something that I think that young people really should take a look at, and really get a grasp for what's happening. Because the part that I really am excited about is that there is an opportunity here where it's sort of unorganized. There are opportunities that wouldn't normally be there when something, I'll kind of give an example. The way I see beach volleyball and where it's at is probably back in the 60s and the 70s with basketball. And basketball at that time, if you were good, you could play. If you loved the sport, you could play in college. You didn't have to be this big-time elite athlete, that was 6'10" and had a 47-inch vertical jump, and you were all going to go to the NBA, and you did it just because you wanted to, because it was fun. And one of the things that I think that beach volleyball is sitting in a position of where you can still play for the fun of it, and you can be a really great player and realize that the fun and the love of the game is just as important as whether you're going to make a boatload of money as a pro athlete. And I think that's the biggest part of in these kind of last couple conversations about the future is that this is an opportunity to be grasped and to be looked at as such, rather than something that of just another sport, or the NCAA has announced that the next step, which is a NCAA tournament, but they've already had the tournament for 4 years. The Coaches Association did a national tournament, and what's fun about it is that in the second part of the show, we're going to have a coach from North Florida, Stephen Loeswick, who actually played, at USC back in the 90s, started his coaching career, has been involved with the collegiate beach volleyball game since its inception, and has been kind of able to see the full scheme, the full scenic view. And so I'm very interested to air that interview. I'll be doing that after the break here. But I just really want you guys to understand that beach volleyball, it can be done as something that you love to do. It can be done because it's outdoors, because you want to do something really good, and it has some opportunities. Another thing that I think that's really key that we'll be talking about with Stephen is this idea of what does it mean to be a pro beach volleyball player? Because so many young people now today feel that they're going to go to the Olympics, or they're going to go to, play pro volleyball for that sake, somewhere internationally, and it's going to be this great thing, and we're all going to be able to make $1 million, or we're all going to be rich, and that's why we're doing this. I think Stephen really made a great point during the interview. He said their only top 10 players could actually make a living. He's not saying they're getting hog nasty rich. He said they're making a living. And that's one of the things I think that's beautiful about the world of beach, is that it can be done for the simple love of the game, that you can go out there, enjoy yourself, enjoy the camaraderie of a team sport. You can enjoy the camaraderie at college. You get to play volleyball for 4 more years. And it really becomes this really fascinating mix of what college should all be about. It should be about enjoying yourself, playing a game that you love, studying, and really setting yourself up for the future. So with that, we're going off to a break. And then after, Stephen will be coming on, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about the future of beach and how it's changed the game and what different coaches are going to be doing and what players are going to be doing, and hopefully it passes along some wisdom. This is Stephen McCarthy from the McCarthy Project, and we are coming to you from Minnesota. And we have been talking about this area of the future of beach volleyball as it relates to the NCAA. And has been a very interesting conversation because I do think it actually should change a lot of athletes' perspective. Maybe not in a major way, but at least in other ways. And I'd be very interested to hear my next guest's perspective on this because he's been involved with volleyball for a very long time as a player and then also as a coach. And to talk about what he sees and why it is important. It may not be a game changer, but at least it's a very major step forward in the right direction. So I've asked Stephen Loeswick from North Florida. He is the head volleyball coach as well as the beach volleyball coach. How are you doing today, Stephen?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's fun to talk sport and talk philosophy and talk about the future. So right off the bat, what are your general thoughts related to the NCAA announcing the beach volleyball tournament?
It's a very exciting time. Just the overall growth of beach volleyball at numerous levels, has really pushed us forward and allowed so many colleges to field teams, which is, put our emerging sport onto the actual NCAA championship list. And it's just going to continue to grow. It's just probably the most exciting, fastest growing sport we got right now.
And see, before we go there, because as soon as I ask the question, it comes back to you have the unique perspective. Because I'm older, I'm in the 50 range. Well, I shouldn't say in the 50. I'm only 47. But I remember my version of beach volleyball was California, Karts Karai, and you had to go out there in order to play. You know what I mean? It was just that. It was nothing more, nothing less. And you watched it. I mean, that was before ESPN back then, but it was on ABC's Wild World of Sports once in a while or something like this. But you have a unique perspective. You actually played kind of back in that era as well.
Yeah, I after high school, I went to school at the University of Southern California, so I was fortunate enough to, be from the East Coast, but go play indoor volleyball for the men's team at USC, and being out on the West Coast for 5 years. For sure, that's where beach volleyball started, and that's where it got popular. And if you wanted to play it seriously and try to make a living at it, you had to be on the West Coast. And things with, like you said, with more TV coverage and the things that are going on at the international level, the FIVB and the Olympic level, it's just really has sparked an interest in people all over the country. So it's definitely changing where you can train and still be productive as a semi-pro, at the beach level. And because I'm not sure, there's only top 10 or so, 15 can truly make a living at it. But it's if you have a passion for it, and there's multiple professional leagues right now or professional tours that kids can keep playing and really enjoy what they're doing.
See, and that is an interesting, and I'm going to delve right down into this right here, because I think this is the part that is the most frustrating thing about youth sports in combination with college, in combination with pro level stuff. There's a little statement that you mentioned is that, in the pro level, the top 10 or 15 players, not all the 10 or 15 leagues, it's the 10 or 15 players can actually make a living at it. And so if you're looking at this as a big future money maker, probably not. But you can surely enjoy the sport and surely get outside and start to enjoy all the other benefits of just living a very fun life with beach volleyball or indoor volleyball. Can you kind of speak to how that perspective should be changed in young people, or do you think it needs to be?
You know, honestly, it's very similar to probably every other sport out there. You know, when they talk about collegiate football and collegiate basketball, you know, everybody, you know, has a dream of making the NBA or making the NFL. And when it comes down to it, collegiate athletes, there's only, you know, 1% that is going to truly make whatever sport they're playing to the professional division and then make a living at it. So I think it's great to have those dreams and aspirations, and you should push as hard as you possibly can to make it. But in the meantime, you know, let's also make sure that, you know, we're getting a great education and, you know, we're ready to be productive if that doesn't work out for you.
And it's funny because, you know, I've really thought about this particular subject quite a bit. And when you look at beach volleyball, you know, as it relates, it really can be a fun experience, you know, to go out, play college sport, get outside, enjoy the outdoors, play a game that you love, if you will, and enjoy, you know, the process of college. And it doesn't have to be, I might kind of rankle something, but it doesn't have to all be about studying. You know what I mean? You could actually have fun with it, you know, rather than having to be a big stressed out thing. And if my elbow is not exactly in the right spot and I miss that one shot, that life's going to come to an end. And so kind of give us your thoughts related to, you know, a proper perspective for a young 15, 16-year-old athlete looking to play beach volleyball.
Yeah, with the amount of opportunities that are currently here and you know, the amount of opportunities we see coming up in the future with, you know, hopefully more and more colleges adding the sport, you know, the opportunity to play that sport you love for another 4 years, you know, while being at a school you want to be at and you know, doing well in classes. And I think it's an amazing time for whoever's interested in beach volleyball. And beach volleyball is an extremely fun sport. And it's, you know, and at the college level, you know, the first 4 years of beach volleyball, you know, it definitely was new and exciting and fun, and it's still going to be fun. I do think that the more the larger schools that can kind of funded to a level where their coaches are making a lot of money, then there's going to become some pressure for those coaches to win. And you know, I do see the training becoming very similar to indoor. So, you know, whatever sport you have a passion for, you know, go to the university and play it and have fun, but also understand that, you know, whoever's coaching you and whatever program you're a part of is, you know, it's going to be their job not only to do well, you know, off the court, but it's going to be their job to win too. So, you know, the pressures are going to start to build the more the big schools come in.
Yeah, it's kind of going to, you know, it's interesting because it's probably, you know, like kind of like a position where we talked about ESPN earlier, and I'm just going to throw an analogy out there. Before ESPN, I remember sitting down on a Saturday afternoon and watching 5 basketball games in a row because that was the only day that they were on. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And I remember staying up late, you know, on, you know, at 10:30 at night to watch the West Coast, you know, NCAA tournament. You know what I mean? Because that was the only time it was on. And you do kind of miss those nostalgic, or you get those nostalgic thoughts, you know, what it used to be and when it was just the 4 of us. Now I have a quick question. So you're part of the Atlantic Sun, which is probably one of the original. Were you one of the original 15 programs as well?
Yeah, we were one of the first programs, so we've had it since the beginning.
And then how did you come to the decision to do it? I mean, was it something that said, hey, this looks like fun, or what was kind of your the general outlook?
Well, honestly, I was kind of lucky and kind of fell into it. You know, the decision to have a sand program or a beach program had already been made when I accepted the position, the head coaching position, to be kind of the director of volleyball, to oversee both indoor and beach. And you know, there was a handful of schools. There's 5 schools in the Atlantic Sun that were part of that first 15. You know, and within our conference, that was the number that they needed in order to have a conference champion. So, you know, we've had a conference championship and a conference champion for the first 4 years. You know, and it's honestly put us in a position to, since we've had it since the inception, you know, the AVCA, when they were running the championship, you know, was very grateful that, you know, our conference put in so much work and so much effort to promote the sport that, you know, they allowed us to have an automatic qualifier into the AVCA championship the last 2 years. So, you know, that was really exciting for the schools in our conference and you know, our teams that were truly fighting for something to make the postseason. And it was a lot of fun.
Yes. So now let's get into the other area. How does it change your perspective? Does it change, you know, you talked a little bit earlier about the major programs coming in with a little bit more funding, you know, being able to, you know, because I know a lot of programs are like yourself where they're essentially being overseen by the same coach. Do you think there's going to come a time where there's going to be a separate coach, you know, and that he's got his own recruiting database and there's not going to be so much crossover?
I think that's where it's headed. You know, I don't know exactly, you know, each school's intention for the sport, you know, because there's a lot of great reasons for adding the sport. But to be successful, you know, the schools that are able to, you know, provide a beach-only coach and, you know, maybe a full allotment of scholarships and recruiting money and things like that, you know, they're going to have a slight advantage to, you know, how much they can train and do all that. So, which is really good news for, you know, up-and-coming student athletes, you know, high school girls that are wanting to play, because, you know, when this separation comes, there'll probably be less and less crossover kids who play both indoor and beach. That's not to say there won't be any, because I think it's definitely, you know, possible to play both and be successful at both. But again, when you're talking about, you know, coaches' livelihoods and things like that, then I think teams are also going to separate. So we're going to just provide more opportunities for people, for girls.
Well, it really does. I think it's almost like the wild, wild west, you know what I mean, type of a scenario, you know, because I was talking with another coach and he said, you know, in this world of recruiting databases and, you know, and you know, YouTube videos, he says, you know, I still get the athlete that sends me some video of them playing co-ed, you know, at Lord Fletcher's, you know, that's where we play here locally, and then some indoor tape and combined it together and said, yes, I'm a great, you know, sand volleyball coach, you know, or not coach, but a player. But it'd be interesting to see as it becomes more, I guess, for lack of better, commercialized and more organized. It probably will lose a little bit of the luster in the end. But any other remaining thoughts? I know we, you know, said we'd spend about 20 minutes. We're kind of coming to the end. Anything that you could think of to pass along to young coaches or young athletes?
Just the, you know, the fact that there's so many opportunities to play and you know, the growth of our sport at the university level is just exciting. And, you know, you can see it. It filters down that the amount of clubs and the amount of AAU programs and the amount of high schools that are officially sponsoring the sport. And, you know, it's just a matter of time before, you know, a majority of the Division I schools add it. You know, I know you're up north, and it'll be interesting to see how that shakes down, you know, in some of those Big Ten schools, and if they decide how and when, if it's the right fit for them to sponsor the sport. But there's a lot of spring sports that are already up there that find a way to be successful. So it's going to continue to grow, and it's an exciting time. So I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, and we are the land of 10,000 lakes. I just wanted to know. So we do have beaches, from that standpoint. Yeah, so we do have the geography, I guess. Is geography the right word for it?
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Okay. I just was thinking that it seems like there should be some fancier word for it. But all right, Stephen, if anybody would like to get a hold of you, get a hold of your school, how should they get a hold of you?
The best way is email, because coaches are always on the road, but we always have our phones with us. So.
Sure. And so just get on to the North Florida site, athletic department.
Yeah,
that's where
I can give you. It's s.loeswick, s.loeswick, LOESWICK at unf.edu, and I just appreciate you bringing me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for kind of